Right now, somewhere in the world, a 72-year-old woman is sitting at her kitchen table, staring at yet another article about superfoods, wondering why none of them seem to be working. She has tried the blueberries. She has tried the kale smoothies. She has swallowed more fish oil capsules than she can count. And yet, every morning, her joints still ache, her energy fades by noon, and that quiet fear, the one she never talks about, keeps growing louder. The fear that her body is slowly shutting down, one system at a time, and nothing she does can stop it. She is not alone. Over 47 million adults over the age of 60 across the globe are following health advice that sounds right, looks right, and yet misses the single most important principle that separates people who simply survive into old age from people who truly thrive past 100. Recent groundbreaking research led by Dr. William Li, a renowned physician, scientist, and author whose work has been published in leading medical journals and cited by the National Institutes of Health, has uncovered something that challenges nearly everything mainstream nutrition advice has been repeating for decades. His research into the body's 5 defense systems, angiogenesis, regeneration, the microbiome, DNA protection, and immunity, has revealed that longevity is not about eating more of one miracle food. It is about eating specific combinations of ordinary foods that activate the body's own self-healing machinery at the cellular level. Within just 72 hours of following the protocol that will be shared in this video, the body begins recalibrating its internal defense systems. By day 14, measurable changes in inflammation markers, gut bacteria diversity, and cellular repair activity begin showing up in clinical blood work. And by day 60, something truly remarkable happens, something that could mean the difference between spending the final decades of life dependent on medications and caregivers, or spending them walking through a garden, playing with grandchildren, and waking up every single morning with energy and purpose. But before revealing the specific foods that make this possible, and the precise way to eat them that most people get completely wrong, there is something absolutely critical to understand first. Something that explains why so many well-intentioned seniors are doing everything right on paper and still watching their health decline year after year. If this is a first visit to this channel, welcome to a trusted source for evidence-based health discoveries that could genuinely change the trajectory of the years ahead. Hitting that subscribe button and ringing the notification bell ensures that none of these breakthrough discoveries are ever missed. This community is growing into a global family of health-conscious individuals who believe that aging does not have to mean declining. Drop a comment below sharing where in the world this video is being watched from. It is always incredible to see how far this message reaches. Now, here is what most people fundamentally misunderstand about living to 100. The common belief is that longevity is genetic, that some people are simply born with good genes and everyone else is left hoping for the best. But a landmark study conducted at the University of Southern California and later supported by research from the Danish Twin Registry found that genetics account for only about 20 to 25% of what determines lifespan. The remaining 75 to 80% comes down to lifestyle, and more specifically, to what goes onto the plate every single day. Think of the human body like an incredibly sophisticated city. This city has power plants generating energy, highways transporting nutrients, construction crews repairing damage, a waste management system clearing out toxins, and a defense force protecting against invaders. When this city is young, everything runs smoothly. The power plants are efficient. The highways are clear. The construction crews work around the clock. But as decades pass, something starts happening. The power plants of war, the mitochondria inside every cell of war, begin losing efficiency. They produce less energy and more waste. The highways the blood vessels start developing cracks and blockages. The construction crews, the stem cells responsible for regeneration, become slower, fewer in number, and less responsive to repair signals. This is not just aging. This is what Dr. William Li describes as the progressive failure of the body's 5 defense systems. And here is the part that changes everything. These systems do not fail because of time alone. They fail because they stop receiving the specific molecular signals they need to keep functioning. Signals that come directly from food. Not supplements, not pharmaceuticals. Food. This is a distinction that cannot be overstated. The modern health industry has spent billions of dollars convincing people that longevity comes in a capsule, a powder, or a prescription bottle. But Dr. Li's research, along with converging evidence from blue zone studies across 5 continents, consistently demonstrates that whole foods deliver their protective compounds in complex matrices, eat-year dower bundled with cofactors, fiber, and synergistic molecules or obro, that isolated supplements simply cannot replicate. A lycopene capsule is not a tomato. A resveratrol pill is not a handful of grapes. The body knows the difference and its defense systems respond accordingly. Here is what is really happening inside the body after the age of 60. Every single day, roughly 10,000 precancerous cells form in the body. In a younger person with fully functional defense systems, the body identifies and eliminates these cells before they ever become dangerous. But as the angiogenesis defense system weakens, HRO, that is the system controlling blood vessel growth, HRO, the body loses its ability to starve these abnormal cells of their blood supply. At the same time, the regenerative defense system slows down. Stem cell production, which peaks in youth, drops significantly after 60. The gut microbiome Waburo, home to trillions of bacteria that directly influence immunity, mood, and inflammation, Waburo begins losing diversity. Fewer species of beneficial bacteria means weaker immune signaling, increased chronic inflammation, and reduced production of critical short-chain fatty acids that protect the intestinal lining. Think of it like a garden. In spring, a well-tended garden has dozens of different plant species, each supporting the ecosystem in unique ways. Some fix nitrogen in the soil. Some attract pollinators. Some repel pests. But if the gardener stops planting diverse seeds and only waters 1 or 2 species, the entire ecosystem collapses. Weeds take over. The soil becomes depleted. The garden still exists, but it no longer thrives. That is exactly what happens inside the gut when the diet lacks diversity, and it is one of the primary reasons why people over 60 experience accelerating decline even when they think they are eating well. So, what are these specific foods that reactivate the body's defense systems? And why are they not the ones plastered across every health magazine cover? The first food, Adapro, and this one surprises almost everyone, is dark chocolate. Not milk chocolate. Not the sugar-laden candy bars found in checkout aisles. Specifically, dark chocolate with a cacao content of 70% or higher. Research published in the Journal of Nutrition demonstrated that the flavonols in high cacao dark chocolate activate a process called endothelial function improvement, AWADS. Essentially, they help the inner lining of blood vessels relax and expand, improving blood flow throughout the entire body. Dr. William Lee's research has shown that these same flavonols stimulate the angiogenesis defense system, helping the body maintain healthy blood vessel networks while simultaneously cutting off blood supply to abnormal tissue growth. The optimal protocol is simple: 20 to 30 grams of dark chocolate daily, consumed after a meal rather than on an empty stomach. This timing matters because the fats in a recent meal enhance the absorption of cacao flavonols by up to 40%. Pairing it with a small handful of walnuts, roughly 6 to 8 walnut halves, creates a synergistic effect, as the omega-3 fatty acids in walnuts further support the vascular benefits. One important note: the chocolate should be consumed slowly, allowed to melt on the tongue, rather than chewed and swallowed quickly. This slower consumption allows the flavonols to begin interacting with beneficial bacteria in the oral microbiome the very first checkpoint in the body's defense network before even reaching the stomach. The second food is one that has been sitting in kitchens around the world for centuries, largely ignored by modern nutrition science until very recently: black beans. A comprehensive study from the National Institutes of Health found that regular consumption of legumes, particularly black beans, is one of the strongest dietary predictors of longevity across all studied populations. The centenarians of Okinawa eat beans daily. The long-lived communities of Sardinia eat beans daily. The remarkably healthy Seventh-day Adventist population in Loma Linda, California, one of the original blue zones, eat beans daily. Here is why black beans are so powerful. They contain a unique combination of resistant starch, anthocyanins, and prebiotic fiber that feeds exactly the species of gut bacteria most responsible for producing butyrate a short-chain fatty acid that Dr. Lee identifies as one of the most important molecules for activating the microbiome defense system. Butyrate strengthens the gut lining, reduces systemic inflammation, and even crosses the blood-brain barrier, where it supports cognitive function and protects against neurodegenerative decline. Think of resistant starch as premium fuel for the most important workers in that internal city. While regular starch gets burned up quickly in the upper digestive tract, resistant starch passes through undigested until it reaches the colon, where billions of beneficial bacteria are waiting to ferment it into protective compounds. Without this fuel, those bacteria starve, their populations collapse, and the inflammatory cascade that follows affects every organ system from the brain to the bones. It is a domino effect that begins silently in the gut and manifests years later as joint pain, brain fog, weakened immunity, and accelerating cardiovascular decline, AOE, symptoms that most people attribute to just getting older, when in reality they are signals of a starving microbiome desperately calling for the right fuel. The preparation method matters enormously. Canned black beans work, but soaking dried black beans overnight and then cooking them the following day increases their resistant starch content significantly. An even more powerful technique is to cook the beans, let them cool completely in the refrigerator for 12 to 24 hours, and then reheat them. This cooling and reheating process transforms the starch structure, creating even more resistant starch than the original cooking produced. Half a cup of prepared black beans daily, consumed with lunch or dinner, provides the therapeutic dose identified in longevity research. If this information is proving valuable, if these are things that have never been heard from a typical doctor's visit, then hitting that like button right now would make an enormous difference. It takes 1 second, and it tells the algorithm to show this video to more seniors who desperately need this information to protect their health and independence. The third food is purple cabbage. Not green cabbage or roe, specifically purple. This distinction matters because purple cabbage contains up to 6 times more anthocyanins than its green counterpart. A study from Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine found that sulforaphane, a compound abundant in cruciferous vegetables and especially concentrated in purple cabbage, activates a master protein called NRF2. This protein acts like a foreman who walks through that city and switches on every repair and detoxification system simultaneously. It upregulates the production of the body's own antioxidant enzymes, glutathione, superoxide dismutase, catalase, at levels no external supplement can match. Dr. Lee's research positions cruciferous vegetables as one of the most potent activators of the DNA protection defense system. Every day, the DNA inside every cell sustains thousands of hits from oxidative stress, environmental toxins, and normal metabolic byproducts. The body's repair enzymes fix most of this damage, but as those enzymes decline with age, unrepaired DNA errors accumulate. This accumulation is one of the primary drivers of aging itself. Purple cabbage, consumed raw or very lightly cooked to preserve the sulforaphane content, provides the molecular signals those repair enzymes need to stay active well into the 8th and 9th decades of life. The optimal serving is 1 cup of finely shredded raw purple cabbage, added to salads, or consumed as a simple slaw dressed with extra virgin olive oil and apple cider vinegar. The olive oil serves a dual purpose. It enhances absorption of fat-soluble compounds while independently providing oleocanthal, a natural anti-inflammatory compound that research has shown mimics the mechanism of ibuprofen without the gastrointestinal side effects. If raw cabbage is difficult to digest, and for some seniors with sensitive digestive systems, it can be lightly steaming it for 2 to 3 minutes, softens the fiber while preserving the majority of the sulforaphane content. The key is to avoid boiling, which leaches sulforaphane into the water and dramatically reduces its concentration in the vegetable itself. A simple rule to remember: the more the purple cabbage still crunches between the teeth, the more of its healing compounds remain intact and available for the body to use. The fourth food is something so simple it almost seems impossible that it could influence lifespan: walnuts. But the data is remarkable. The Nurses' Health Study, one of the largest and longest-running nutritional studies ever conducted, followed over 118,000 participants and found that those who consumed walnuts 5 or more times per week had a significantly reduced risk of mortality from all causes. A separate clinical trial published in the journal Nutrients demonstrated that daily walnut consumption measurably increased the diversity of gut microbiome species within just 8 weeks, directly activating what Dr. Lee identifies as the microbiome defense system. Walnuts are unique among nuts because they are the only tree nut with significant amounts of alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid that the body converts into EPA and DHA, the same anti-inflammatory compounds found in fatty fish. 7 walnut halves per day, AOWEO, roughly one small handful, AOWEO, provides the therapeutic dose. The best time to consume them is in the morning, either alone or mixed into oatmeal, because the omega-3 fatty acids support brain function throughout the day, while the fiber content helps regulate blood sugar from the first meal onward. Store walnuts in the refrigerator or freezer rather than in the pantry. The delicate omega-3 oils in walnuts oxidize quickly at room temperature, and rancid walnut oil does the exact opposite of what fresh walnut oil achieves. It increases inflammation rather than reducing it. A sealed container in the refrigerator preserves their potency for months, ensuring every handful delivers the full therapeutic benefit. The fifth food, and this is the one that ties everything together, is tomatoes, specifically cooked tomatoes. When tomatoes are heated, their cellular structure breaks down and releases dramatically higher concentrations of lycopene, a carotenoid that research from Harvard Medical School has identified as one of the most powerful activators of the body's immune defense system. Lycopene accumulates in tissues throughout the body, particularly in the prostate, skin, and cardiovascular system, where it provides sustained antioxidant protection between meals. The preparation is critical. 2 to 3 medium tomatoes, cooked in a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil for 15 to 20 minutes over medium heat, creates what researchers call a bioavailable lycopene concentrate. The olive oil is not optional. Lycopene is fat-soluble, and without dietary fat present during consumption, the body absorbs less than 15% of the available lycopene. With olive oil, absorption increases to over 75%. Adding a pinch of black pepper further enhances the bioavailability through a compound called piperine, which slows the liver's breakdown of lycopene, keeping it circulating in the bloodstream for longer periods. This simple cooked tomato preparation, consumed 4 to 5 times per week, delivers clinical-grade lycopene levels without any supplementation. It can be eaten on its own as a warm side dish, spooned over whole grain toast, or stirred into soups and stews, and rouse. The heating process has already unlocked the lycopene, so further cooking does not diminish its potency. Now there is an important safety consideration that must be addressed with care. Individuals currently taking blood-thinning medications such as warfarin should be aware that several of these foods, particularly dark leafy greens and cruciferous vegetables, contain vitamin K, which can interact with anticoagulant therapy. This does not mean these foods must be avoided entirely. It means that consistency is key. The body adjusts to a steady intake of vitamin K, and physicians calibrate medication dosages accordingly. The danger comes from sudden dramatic changes of eating no cruciferous vegetables for weeks, and then consuming large quantities abruptly. Anyone on blood-thinning medication should discuss dietary changes with their prescribing physician before making adjustments. Similarly, individuals with kidney disease should consult their healthcare provider before significantly increasing bean consumption, as the potassium content requires monitoring and compromised kidney function. There is a woman named Margaret, 76 years old, from a small town outside of Melbourne, Australia. 2 years ago, Margaret had reached a point where she genuinely believed her best years were behind her. Chronic fatigue made it impossible to tend the flower garden she had maintained for 40 years. Her knees ached so badly that she had stopped walking to the mailbox, asking her neighbor to bring the post instead. She described feeling like her body was rusting from the inside out. A feeling millions of seniors know intimately, but rarely speak about aloud. Her daughter had started researching assisted living facilities, and Margaret, for the first time in her life, did not argue against it. Then Margaret's granddaughter, a nutrition student at university, introduced her to the concept of eating for her body's defense systems rather than simply eating for calories or basic nutrition. Margaret began incorporating these 5 foods into her daily routine, not all at once, but gradually, 1 per week, until all 5 had become non-negotiable parts of her diet. Within 4 months, Margaret noticed she was waking up before her alarm. Within 6 months, her knee pain had decreased enough that she was walking to the mailbox again, and then past it, down the street, and eventually around the entire block. At her annual checkup, her physician noted measurable improvements in her inflammatory markers and cholesterol profile. But the moment Margaret talks about with tears in her eyes is not a lab result. It is the Saturday morning she knelt down in her garden, planted a row of tulip bulbs with her own hands, and stood back up without assistance. That was the morning she called her daughter and told her to cancel the assisted living research. That is what eating for the body's defense systems looks like in practice. Not miracle cures, not overnight transformations. Quiet, steady, dignified restoration of the functional capacity that makes life worth living. And here is what makes this approach fundamentally different from every diet trend that has come and gone over the past 50 years. These are not exotic ingredients requiring specialty stores or complicated preparation rituals. There is no calorie counting. There is no meal timing restriction. There is no elimination of entire food groups. There is simply the deliberate, daily inclusion of 5 specific foods that speak directly to the body's built-in healing systems in a language those systems have understood for thousands of years. The centenarians of Okinawa did not read nutrition labels. The long-lived villagers of Sardinia did not track macros. They simply ate the foods their land provided, AEWs, foods that, as modern science is now confirming, happen to be precisely the ones the body's defense systems require to function optimally, decade after decade after decade. The path to 100 is not paved with exotic superfoods flown in from distant continents. It is paved with dark chocolate, black beans, purple cabbage, walnuts, and cooked tomatoes, humble foods, available in every grocery store, backed by decades of research from the world's most respected institutions, and capable of reactivating the very defense systems that the body was designed to use. The choice sitting in front of every person watching this video right now is remarkably simple. Continue doing what has always been done and hope for different results. Or begin tonight, with 1 square of dark chocolate after dinner, with a handful of walnuts tomorrow morning, with a cup of black beans added to tomorrow's lunch, and give the body the molecular signals it has been waiting for. Not next week, not after the next doctor's appointment, tonight. Because every single day that passes without these defense systems receiving the fuel they need is another day the city falls further into disrepair, and another day that the window of opportunity to reverse that decline grows narrower. If this video opened even one new door of understanding about how the body truly works and what it needs to thrive past 60, 70, 80, and beyond, kindly type yes in the comments below. That single word motivates the creation of more content like this and helps the platform understand that this information is valuable and needs to reach more people. Share this video with a friend, a parent, a spouse, anyone who deserves to know that aging does not have to mean declining. Hit that subscribe button to stay connected with this growing community of people who are refusing to accept decline as inevitable. Together, something truly powerful is being built. A movement of people taking back control of their health, one meal at a time, one day at a time, for as many extraordinary years as this life has to offer.